Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And this episode of NXT was heavy on the matchups and even heavier on the stakes that it would lay out for its next live special, NXT TakeOver, Our Evolution. I mean, what a show we've got. Storylines moving forward, characters on the rise, everything and anything you could hope for. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
This was my favorite episode of NXT in a really long time. And it's not even necessarily because of the in-ring work. It's because of all of the stories that are unfolding. And we got probably the best in-ring non-match segment that we got tonight in a long time. And I won't go as far as to say ever, but it's definitely in that top 3 range, if not ever. And on top of that, we got a lot of storyline progression, character progression, just a lot of really good backstory overall in this show. And, I mean, the wrestling wasn't half bad either.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you on all counts. So with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I have 0 heats of the night tonight. What about you, Ash?
No, I don't have any heats of the night. This was a great show. I do want to warn everybody, though, this might end up being a longer episode of NXT TWitWoW if I had to guess, just because I think that John and I both have a lot to say.
Absolutely. So, with that established, let's roll right on through to our NXT review, and we open it up with the women going at it.
Yeah, I mean, to open the show, we got a video package about Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn from last week, but the actual open of the show is, we do get a bit of cold open with Bayley versus Becky Lynch, and this was, to me, it wasn't an amazing match, but the finish was pretty much the biggest upset that we've had on NXT in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, Bayley, I think, was in control for most of it, actually, with her high-flying offense and her quick-paced offense.
Yep.
But Becky Lynch is able to separate herself at a moment in the match, get on the ring apron, and then Sasha Banks provides cover for Becky, giving the distraction to Bayley. Bayley gets hung up on the ropes, and she gets caught up in a schoolboy where Becky Lynch grabs a little bit of Bayley's tights, and that is sufficient to score the 3 count. Shocking indeed, considering how strong they've been booking Bayley these past couple of months.
Yeah, you can really tell that they're kind of starting to back off with the push of Bayley because of the fact that Charlotte has turned full on face now. So they're kind of like it's like they wanted originally to have Bayley be the next women's champion, but now they feel like Charlotte's better off as a face. And obviously they're not going to turn Bayley heel, so they've kind of switched gears and they went with like kind of full on with the Sasha train.
I have my concerns about this, Ashton, because to just fast forward a tiny bit and kind of group all this together, you did mention Charlotte being a babyface now, and she does come into this segment when Sasha and Becky are taunting Bayley and seem like they're going to get the jump on her some more. And then in the segment immediately after that, we have Bayley thanking Charlotte, and then Charlotte, I think, warns her that she's not going to be around next week, but Sasha is, and tell Bayley not to challenge Sasha because she won't stop. She's a bully and she doesn't stop. Now, what I don't like about this is, and you and I have talked about Bayley at length in certain commentaries, whether it be a better gimmick or ability, what have you. I think what leaves a bad taste in my mouth here, actually, is here is a woman in Bayley who's taken Charlotte to the limit twice for the championship, and to me at least, it comes off with this whole dynamic of her, Sasha, and Charlotte, that Bayley is more a victim, and overall is just somebody that's not capable of handling her business in the ring. I don't really like that.
See, and I don't even necessarily see it as that. I see it more as Charlotte just basically kind of admitting that up until tonight, she had severely underestimated Sasha and what Sasha can do and what her influence can do. Because, I mean, all it took was a really minor, and it wasn't even really full-on interference, just a distraction and Sasha's new protege beat Bayley. So if Sasha's protege can beat Bayley, what can Sasha do?
Yeah, that's a great point. Excellent counter there. And really, I think somebody else could look at it from the onset and say that we've got like this sisterly relationship of sorts. Charlotte almost being like a big sister to Bayley, just trying to look out for her interests, and of course Charlotte's own interests being the women's champion. So yeah, I think you have a great point there. And the relationship between Bayley and Charlotte does continue to be of interest to me, and I just don't know if Bayley's push has been completely snuffed out, if Sasha really is going to take this all the way and be the next NXT Women's Champion, which I think would be marvelous. I mean, we're really just going to have to wait and see how this all unfolds.
Yeah. So, do we really have anything else here?
No, absolutely not. We can move on.
All right. So, you did mention that they hugged it out, right?
Yes. Charlotte's
All right.
look on her face is just so awkward. So
Yeah, I mean, it was awkward, but you could tell that she was kind of like, okay, I guess I can deal with this.
yeah, there you go.
All right, so up next we got a Vaudevillains promo. Aiden English tells everyone that they are kind and patient gentlemen who believe that they deserve what they have earned now. So the Lucha Dragons music hits almost immediately, and out come two mini luchadors that don't even try to look anything like the Lucha Dragons. And my personal favorite line of the night from commentary, Renee says, they're like Lucha Loompas.
Renee was so on point tonight, if I could just say for a second, because I think she was on commentary the whole show, and she was just fantastic. That said, I really enjoyed this segment from the Vaudevillains. They're doing exactly what you and I hoped they would, Ashton. They're clearly dividing the line. Vaudevillains are the heels. Lucha Dragons are the babyfaces. I like that we've got a black and white kind of dynamic going on between these two teams, because I know the Vaudevillains themselves possess a certain likability, at least amongst the NXT crowd, but that likability can't, phase into this feud.
And smarky sons of guns like you.
And smarky sons of guns like myself. But yeah, this was entertaining. I liked what they did here. Pretty much Simon Gotch and Aiden English, they keep going back and forth with the airplane spins on pretty much both of the Lucha Loompas. And yeah, ultimately they do end up pinning Lucha Loompa number 1 with the Gentleman's Congress. That's the uppercut to the back of the head, followed up by the swinging neckbreaker from English, and they get the win. I mean, everybody knows I love this team. I love that they did a segment like this. I'll be interested in the Lucha Dragons rebuttal, presumably next week. I'm just enjoying this story. And like you said, Ashton, even with all the matches we got, this episode was also very story-heavy, and this was one of the stories, being presented. So I'm glad to see the tag division got some shine tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this was admittedly one of the weaker episodes of NXT from an in-ring perspective. But I think that the reason they did that was so that they could use it to tell stories. And to me, I don't really care what percentage of your show is in ring and what percentage is out of the ring. It all really just comes down to if you're telling a story that's going to make me want to see the pay-per-view. And they did that tenfold on this episode of NXT.
Absolutely. With that said, do you have any other remarks you want to make about the Vaudevillains and the mini Lucha Dragons here?
No, I just love that they're doing stuff like this, because this reminds me of something that they would have done in the Attitude Era, or even just as recently as something that JBL would have done. I think it's something JBL did. Yeah,
JBL did stuff like this. I remember Kurt Angle and John Cena's feud. They had a mini Kurt Angle and a mini John Cena. It's great to see segments like this, because it's such a throwback, to other rivalries and segments like this. So it was really cool.
Yeah. But up next, we see a little graphic. Sami Zayn is going to be addressing the NXT universe later. And then we get a Macho Man Randy Savage Network special preview. And then we go right into it. Our Kevin Owens vignette. He said, I will fight anyone and everyone. Bet against me if you want, and I am the future.
And then the number showed December 11th.
11/14.
Absolutely. It's coming, people. It's coming.
3 weeks.
And no one's going to be able to stop it. I can't wait for this. There is so much potential in this. It's ridiculous.
And you know what's going to be great?
What's that?
we're going to go the entire night, and he's not going to show up, and people are going to be like, oh, I thought that Kevin Owens guy was supposed to debut tonight. And after Sami Zayn wins the NXT Championship from Adrian Neville, his music's going to hit.
Yeah,
And
man.
dude, I don't know if you heard about this or not, but I've heard alleged reports that Blue Smock Nancy, the artist that made his theme music in ROH, is willing to give the WWE a cheaper deal to let him keep their theme music on their roster.
Oh, man, that is awesome.
I hope it happens so much. I doubt it will, but, oh, that would be perfect. Because honestly, Unsettling Differences, to me, just exclusively because of the way that it's structured, where it kind of comes in with the drums, and then the ridiculous electric guitar comes in after a few drum beats. It's a perfect wrestling entrance theme. Like, you just hear that, and it's like, oh god, something's about to happen, and then the guitar hits, and it's like, oh, it's Kevin Owens! I'm so used to calling him Steen, but I think I can get used to the Owens thing.
And what I think is so great, actually, is if they're able to keep the theme, you know how many fans are going to come unglued for it and identify it immediately?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like,
especially
with Sami,
if it plays at the end of the live special. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, because with Sami, the Olay chants carried over into NXT. If they do the theme music and then he's confronting Zayn, and just everybody is going to know and pick up the references and just lose their minds in the midst of it all.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that kind of puts me on edge is that people already know, because CFO Money has a website where they keep samples of their songs and stuff like that, and it's not like downloadable or listen toable or anything, but it's like a database where so that they can know like the real names of the guys and the names of the wrestlers and the names of the songs and that kind of stuff. And there was one for Kevin Steen, and the name of the song was Fight. So the fact that they used the word fight for the name of the theme song makes me think maybe they didn't use Unsettling Differences, or maybe they're doing like what they did with Bray Wyatt, where with Bray Wyatt, his theme music for the longest time, the title was Broken Out in Love, and then they changed it when he got to the main roster to I don't even remember, but they changed the name of the theme without actually changing the theme. So that's the only shred of hope that I have that they're going to keep Unsettling Differences.
Let's hope that they do, man. I think it would be excellent. All I know is that Kevin Owens is coming. Very, very excited for this. I mean, we've already gotten Itami. We already have gotten Balor. Now it's Owens' turn, and then the trifecta will be complete in NXT. In the words of Chris Jericho, will never, ever be the same again.
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 Oh man, but yeah, I'm so excited for this live special. It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be legendary, dude. I think this is gonna be one that, whether you're watching NXT for the first time through this special or you've already watched all the specials like we have, it's gonna be one to remember for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so after we got our first ever Kevin Owens vignette, we got Baron Corbin. So we go from one ass kicker to another. Baron Corbin comes out, and in the ring, his opponent, Elias Sampson, we've heard of him before, I believe, and he goes against Baron Corbin, and the crowd does their counting thing. They get to 22 seconds by the time the match is over. But here's the cool thing. They've even added to it, because now after the match, the crowd starts chanting 22, 22, while Corbin is leaving up the ramp. How awesome is that?
I love the NXT crowd. Because,
they're so creative.
They're creative, and their participatory, chants and reactions and everything gives the workers, the writers, everybody something to work with. And what I love about this, too, because there's really not much to say about Baron Corbin's match from an in-ring standpoint. He gets a right hand, he gets his finisher, which I forget the official name of his finisher, but, he hits it, and then bam, he leaves 22 seconds. Bull Dempsey immediately comes out following that. They share just a quick glance, but Bull Dempsey charges in to take care of business. His opponent is Steve Cutler. And what I love about this, we see a continuation, because as soon as the bell rings, the crowd, Ashton, then puts Bull Dempsey on the clock.
Yeah, the crowd starts counting for him too, but Bull Dempsey isn't concerned with finishing his opponents quickly. He's just concerned with finishing his opponents effectively. So when they get to 22 and he hasn't pinned the guy yet, they boo the crap out of him, which was brilliant, and then immediately start chanting, "Baron's better," which was awesome. But Bull does end up winning in probably maybe like a minute, 45 seconds rather than 22, with the flying headbutt.
Yeah, you know what? I love the idea that these two guys are on a collision course with each other. I think it's going to be great. And honestly, if Baron Corbin manhandles Bull Dempsey, how great is that going to make him look with how NXT has perceived Bull? It's going to be awesome, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I fully expect Bull versus Baron at Evolution.
I do as well. And you know what? I do love that Bull kind of acknowledged the chance a little bit because he seemed to shoot the NXT crowd like a dirty look at one point left. So I think they are going to play on the angle that here Bull came in and he called himself the last of a dying breed and he thought he was going to be the tough guy on campus. And then Baron Corbin comes in and totally steals his thunder. It's going to be a good story to tell, I think.
Absolutely. So up next we had CJ Parker versus Tyson Kidd. We did end up with, we got like a cool little backstage segment that just kind of showed Tyson Kidd working out with his, I don't even know what they're called, resistant bands or something like that.
Yeah.
But Tyson Kidd versus CJ Parker. And this was kind of weird because either I'm hearing wrong or commentary was hearing wrong. Either one is incredibly possible. But I thought that the crowd was doing a dual "Let's Go Tyson, CJ sucks" chant, but commentary claimed that the crowd was divided, which would kind of imply that it was "Let's Go Tyson, TJ sucks." But I'm not entirely sure what was going on here, but either way, Tyson was the clear superior in this match. CJ Parker got one axe kick, but it didn't get a 3 count. And Tyson ended up winning with a sharpshooter.
I just love that Tyson's been on this roll lately. Now, of course, NXT is behind the actual live shows, but even so, like, the idea that he's getting this push on both programs, and that is to say, too, folks, that even when he loses, he looks highly competitive in loss, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I love how he disposed of CJ Parker here, because Parker gets his leg tied up in the ropes. Tyson does a dragon screw while he's tied up in those ropes, making CJ easy pickings. He does the fisherman neck breaker, does Tyson, to CJ, and then with him completely out, he's able to lock in the sharpshooter. It looks like CJ Parker is going to get to the ropes, but then Tyson pulls him back into the center. CJ taps out. Tyson gets the win. And then he has some words for Finn Balor, Ashton.
Yeah, he really just kind of calls him out at the end of the day. He says that he wants a match with him next week, so I'm guessing that that's going to happen.
Yeah, he says you will be excellently executed. I love that.
That was a great line. I forgot it because I didn't write it down, but it was still a great line.
Yeah, you know what? Look, Tyson's no CM Punk or anything, but I'm surprised how good he is on the mic. Like, he's really been getting reactions out of me that way. Mostly laughs, mind you, at Natalia's expense or the opposition's expense. But he's just so good. And yeah, him versus Balor next week. I am so there, man. It's going to be something good.
Absolutely. Okay, so up next, we got a backstage segment. Enzo and Big Cass working on hand speed, and then Carmella shows up, and they have a little discussion. Basically, it kind of comes down to Enzo and Big Cass feel as though they are owed something because they did Carmella the favor of getting her a spot on the roster. But Carmella feels as though they already owed her in the first place because they got her fired from her job at the beauty salon.
Yeah, so they have words about that, but ultimately Enzo and Big Cass, they're focused. They've got a match, and, Carmella, surprisingly, is going to accompany it to him, so, that concludes that segment. And then we do get our tag match, Enzo and Big Cass versus, wait for it, the Mechanics!
Yay! And they do exactly what mechanics do in this match. They jobbed.
Yeah, I just love the energy that you delivered that with. 'Cause, yeah. It was, but you know what, though? Even before that, we've got to say that Enzo and Big Cass, again, cut another great entrance promo. And then this one was board game based. Enzo pretty much saying, that we're not the Parker brothers, but we'll scramble your hairpiece. will monopolize you. And then I think he said something about, like, connected 4 shots or something in terms of, like, you know, being really good with your hands. And just said that the mechanics are S-A-W-F-T, soft.
You forgot some. He also said, we won't be sorry about it.
Yeah, that's true, too. I loved
and
it.
that is life. Pow!
Dude, when these guys come up to the main roster, I don't give a crap if they ever win the tag titles or not. I mean, obviously, I would like them to.
No,
I think
they're going to be
awesome.
multi-time tag team champions, dude. They're the New Age Outlaws incarnate.
They really are. Alex Riley, and I now listen to me carefully, folks, because it's very rare that I give this man credit, so mark the date down.
Yeah,
had a great soundbite.
Yeah, I'll give him credit, too. He really did. This was awesome.
He said, I would invest everything that I own.
Yeah, he said, and I quote, pay attention, people, because I am selling everything that I own and investing it in these guys.
Yeah. He put them over big with that one line. I mean, hell, not like they even needed it. They're one of the most over acts in NXT.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, they carry that shtick up to the main roster. Usos, done. Any other babyface tag team, done. Because
dude, I am so looking forward to the day that Enzo and Big Cass get up to the main roster, because their entrance shenanigans are so much more entertaining than the Usos' entrance shenanigans, and they're going to basically make the Usos obsolete.
Yeah.
They're going to force the Usos to either up their game or GTFO.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I mean, we've been talking about how we feel like the Ascension would be a welcomed addition, and I don't redact that statement in the slightest.
Right.
But I think when you're looking for strong babyface contenders, these are the guys we need, because these are the guys that I think are going to make tag team wrestling really fun again. Not just in that, oh my god, look at their double team combinations, they're so good in ring sense. No, I'm talking personality. I mean, it's just going to be so much fun. But with that said, these guys do get the win against the Mechanics.
With their new tag team finisher.
Yep, because they point at each other and they go, how you doing? And pretty much it's Enzo gets the inverted atomic drop. Big Cass follows it up with a boot. And then that transitions into Enzo getting the pin. And they get the 3 count. So it's nice to see Enzo and Big Cass getting the W's. But
is the inverted atomic drop Enzo's first actual offensive maneuver?
I think it is, dude.
I feel like he's like Mikey Whipwreck at this point.
He really is. It's ridiculous.
Except somehow more entertaining.
I know, right? But the victory...
They're going to screw him up so bad when he gets to the main roster.
I hope you're wrong, dude. Don't say that. Because if they screw this up, that's going to be so disheartening.
Well, I think my thing is, on NXT, they protect him because they don't really need him to do anything offensively. They just kind of have him get beat up, maybe throw some hope punches, and then they tease the tag to Cass. And when Cass gets in, he gets to run offense. He gets to run roughshod. He gets to do all the cool stuff. And either he picks up the win or he tags in Enzo so that they can do their double team maneuver to get the win that way. But if he gets on the main roster, I would hope that they would retain that formula, but knowing the main roster, they would have both guys to get offense in, and I don't think that Enzo should.
I don't think Enzo should either because, A, the dynamic is just so comical and so brilliant, and B, and I only say this because I know it's an inevitability because all tag teams like this eventually break up. If they keep Enzo like this, it makes all the more sense for Big Cass just throw him to the side and be like, I'm sick of your crap. Maybe Enzo, the fact that he doesn't get much offense, costs them a big match. Maybe they're tag team champions and they lose the titles, or they lose their rematch for the titles or something like that. It gives Big Cass reason to snap, decimates Enzo, goes on his way as this big, monster heel.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, they could have like a solid 3 or 4 year run before this has to happen, too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Without question. I'm not even, I would want those guys to go long term. I'm just saying, to your point, I think it's important to keep Enzo as that ill-offensive kind of character because, then it just makes it all the more possible for, Big Cass to just dispose of him and just run roughshod over him. So that builds sympathy for Enzo and heat for Big Cass if they decide to do it. But again, even if they didn't, it's a brilliant dynamic otherwise. But with that said, I hope you're wrong. I hope they do keep that dynamic. But what I do know is that the celebration for Enzo and Big Cass was short-lived because we had another team kind of emerge and spoil the party.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so up next, as soon as this match is over, pretty much, the Ascension come out and beat the living hell out of both teams.
Yeah, they lay out Enzo and Big Ed. Carmella goes running too, which I found hilarious. As soon as like things are going down, she's like, "Oh, I'm out." So yeah, Big Cass and Enzo get laid out. Then I think it's Dash Wilder got left alone in the ring, and he ate the fall of man. And then the Ascension, they grab a microphone, and Victor pretty much says, Tommy, Balor, we're not dead, but soon the two of you will be.
Yeah. And then Connor picks up the mic and he goes, "This is far from over. The Ascension," and then he kind of like, I don't know if he slipped up or if the crowd said what. And then he goes for a second time, "The Ascension will rise again."
Yep, and then their music hits, and they're pumped up. I'm telling you, man, all these tag teams just destroying each other, but the Ascension only cares about one thing, and that's putting an end to Itami and Balor. And if they're going to have a formal matchup at NXT TakeOver R Evolution, I am all in on that. Give those guys 15 minutes and let them just have a clinic in there. Seriously.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, not much more to say than that. If you have any concluding remarks, I don't, so we can move on.
All right. Well, up next, we saw a backstage segment in William Regal's office. Sami Zayn kind of knocks on the door, and he goes in, and he says, "I just wanted to thank you, William, for, or Mr. Regal, I'm sure he called him, for giving me the opportunity to speak my mind, because I have something that I want to get off my chest."
Yep. Sammy about to make his announcement. William Regal kind of gives him a look like, "Oh, okay, Sammy." So, nobody really knows what's coming. And yeah, Sammy's going to address the crowd.
All right, and that's exactly what happens next. He comes out to the ring. No skanking, no dancing. He is super serial right now. Crowd's chanting, "Sammy, Sammy." And I even heard one woman yell, "You got robbed!"
The crowd
or maybe even "You got screwed," it might have been. But Sammy opens up talking about how his entire life he knew that he had what it takes to be champion, but watching the footage back proves otherwise. And then we see the video recap of his road to redemption and then his loss to Neville last week. When we get back from the video recap back to the live show, the crowd is chanting, "You got robbed! You got robbed!" And he says there aren't a lot of feelings worse than that. And watching it back, I get it. I totally get it. And then he calls Neville out to the ring. He does say respectfully, Adrian Neville, I want you to come out here. And he says that if I can't win the big one, I don't know what I'm doing here. You don't owe me a thing, but if our friendship or whatever's left of it at this point means anything to you, you'll give me one more chance at that NXT championship. And if I can't beat you for that NXT championship, then I'm done. So Sammy basically saying that even if it's not put into the contract, which he actually does specify later, even if it's not in the contract, if he doesn't beat Adrian Neville for the NXT championship at their next match, he's quitting NXT. So then Neville comes out, and well, he was already out, but then he gets on the mic and he says, "Anytime you want a rematch, I would be happy to give you a rematch, but that's not our decision. That's up to William Regal. But like you said, I'm your friend, and you've proven time and time again to everybody that you're one of the best in the world. So you don't need to prove yourself or prove to anyone that you're great, because you are." And then Zayn cuts him off. He's like, "You don't need to tell me what I need to prove." He says, "This is my life and I'm living it. And if I can't beat you for that title, then I don't need to be here." And then William Regal's music hits and he comes out and he specifies to start out, "Sammy, you're far from being a failure." But he does say that Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn is an amazing sounding main event, and he sets it up for December 11th at NXT TakeOver. What is it called? Our Evolution, or is it just Evolution?
I think it's Our Evolution.
Okay, well, there you go. And then Neville tells Sammy that he refuses to let Sammy put his career on the line because he doesn't want to feel responsible for ending Sammy's dream. And this is the point where Sammy said about how it doesn't need to be in the contract because straight up, if he can't beat Neville, he's done.
Yeah, this was a great confrontation here.
It really was.
Between the passive aggressiveness of Neville with remarks like that, I refuse to let you put your career on the line because I don't want that on my shoulders, pretty much implying, well, you're my friend, and obviously I don't want to humiliate you. Sammy's passion, speaking about the NXT Championship. I loved how the crowd just said, you got robbed, you got robbed. I mean, the support for Sami Zayn is at an all-time high right now. And I just love it, man. I love how the crowd is just firmly in Zayn's corner. And I love how Neville at least seems to be slowly making that turn into a heel. I don't know how that's going to progress leading up to this event, but interesting to see what the future might hold.
Absolutely. This confrontation was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, in-ring talking segments that we have ever had on NXT. The only other one that I can really think of is the segment between Tyler Black, wow, I am sounding so much like a smark right now. There are two that I can think of. Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal leading up to their match for the NXT Championship, the first ever crowning of the NXT Champion, and then Big E and Bo Dallas for the same thing. But this is easily in the same realm as those three, and it didn't even necessarily... Although, yeah, I guess it is. I guess all three of those have one thing in common. They all set up for an NXT Championship match.
It's all about that NXT title, man.
Yeah, it's awesome that we have a promotion... Well, I mean, I shouldn't act like this is the only promotion, but it's awesome that we have something in the WWE that really treats its titles with a lot of respect.
Definitely. I mean, you know what? And I love this because to me, when babyfaces do what Sami Zayn has done here, I'll put my career on the line, something like that. Normally, it seems like a bit much, like it's unjustified. No, with Sami, it's completely justified. Like, it's all been building to this. Every failure, every setback, and he is just done. I really think it's not just about desperation for Sami to just validate something to himself. It really is just he's reached his end point. He just says, look, if I can't do this, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the toil and having nothing to show for it. I'm going to risk it all to win it all. This is one of the few times where I can really embrace it and get into it and buy it. And I just love the story they've told with Sami Zayn here in his road to the championship.
Yep. Absolutely. This entire story has been perfectly told. I shouldn't say perfectly, because I'm sure there are some flaws, but if there are, I haven't been able to point them out. So incredibly well told. Yeah. And really just, at the end of the day, you really need to look at NXT and take the formula that they're using on Sami Zayn right now and do your best to apply that to the main roster, because if you just keep on doing on the main roster what you've been doing for the last decade, you're just going to end up with another John Cena. And John Cena, compared to previous top guys, Austin, Rock, Hogan, even Hart and Michaels were doing better merchandise numbers, better drawing more crowds, drawing bigger crowds, getting better reactions, all that stuff than what Cena has done over the course of the last decade. So obviously you don't want to replicate that as much as you might think you do, because you're doing pretty well now. Take the NXT formula, apply it on the main roster, and maybe, just maybe, in 5 years, people won't resent Roman Reigns like they've resented John Cena for the last 5. Well, 8 really, but still.
I mean, the thing is, Ashton, I don't think people really identify with the John Cena-esque characters anymore. People like the baby faces that face adversity on a regular basis. That's why I feel like Daniel Bryan reached the level that he did, because it started with him feeling weak and insignificant. In comparison to Kane, in comparison to the people that they worked with, he felt like a weak link, and he had this personal crisis, this really huge insecurity within himself that he needed to resolve. And now we kind of see a similar pattern here with Sami Zayn. I mean, every time he gets close, he gets it snatched away from him, and then the questions begin to start. Well, am I even good enough to win this thing in the first place? Am I capable? And I think people really identify with that because we've all had struggles in our lives, in different facets of our lives, and that question comes up. And that's why I think we rally behind Zayn and we celebrate the likes of Zayn. And I wish more babyfaces were like Sami Zayn because I feel like I see more of myself in those characters than I ever do in the latest John Cena t-shirt or lately the latest John Cena towel. It's pretty ridiculous, but Sami Zayn shows what a babyface should really be like and what I hope we see more of in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All right, that is the end of NXT. We close with that. I mean, that's a heavy note to close on, but alas, that's exactly how we close the show.
Absolutely. So with that said, let's get right into our next segment, high spots and low shots. And you know what? My low shot is going to be Bull Dempsey. Now, granted, he won his match, but he looked like Baron Corbin's inferior in the eyes of the NXT universe. I mean, he got it bad tonight.
Yes, he did.
And
rightfully so.
And rightfully so. I mean, like I said in our personal review of this segment, Bull came in, had the audacity to call himself the last of a dying breed, thought he was going to be king of the mountain and run the place. Baron Corbin has stolen his thunder. For now, Bull Dempsey, I don't care if you win 5 straight matches. Until you win the one that's against Baron Corbin on the other side of the ring, it doesn't mean jack. So tonight you can just accept being my low shot.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Steve Cutler?
Yeah.
All right, my low shot is, you know what? For the sake of psychology, my low shot is Bayley, because she got beat by Becky Lynch relatively cleanly. Like I said, even though Sasha did a distraction, she didn't actually interfere in this match. She just got on the apron for a split second and then got down almost immediately. And it allowed Becky to get the win. Tights or not, hook or by crook, Becky Lynch beat Bayley tonight. And then Bayley needed to be saved by Charlotte. And then she was kind of like in the backstage whining to Mama afterwards with Charlotte. And Charlotte told her to stay away from Sasha. So Bayley had a rough night tonight. She really she did not have a good night tonight at all.
No, she did not. Goes from a NXT Women's Championship contender to just taking orders from Charlotte and being under the watchful eye of the champion. Like I said, I loved your defense of the situation, but still, to me, in a way,
there's no doubt about the fact that this lowered Bayley's stock. But
yeah,
I think that simultaneously it raised Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch's stocks by more.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. Sasha Banks is clearly on the rise. Charlotte better watch herself, and more importantly, she better watch that NXT Women's Championship.
Yeah.
With that said, speaking of contenders, my high spot is going to be the Vaudevillains. And why I say that is, look, they're playing mind games with the champions. They got a little leg up on them, both literally and figuratively, tormenting the Lucha Lupas, and it really worked out. It was a great segment. And more importantly, and this isn't anything against the champions, but they haven't fired back yet. I mean, I'm assuming that's going to come next week, but really, the Vaudevillains were able to saunter off with their deed done, and knowing that they sent a message. So I think this is a good night for the number one contenders for the tag team titles.
Absolutely. And my high spot is going to be the Ascension.
Aw, yeah.
Because they took out not one, but 2 teams tonight, pretty much at the same time, and cut a pretty good promo. The crowd is very clearly still behind them, because after they hit the fall of man on Dash Wilder, the crowd was chanting 10 more times, 10 more times.
It was crazy, man.
And they cut a good promo, and they got to call out the 2 hottest names on NXT right now, and they're most likely going to get a match with them. So whether they win or lose, the fact that they're in the same conversation with these guys is exposure to indie fans who are only watching wrestling on NXT, who are only watching NXT, I should say, for, their precious Kenta and Pac and El Generico and Prince Devitt. Well, guess what? Let me introduce you to the Ascension.
Exactly. It's going to be so good. So, love your high spot, love your low shot. I already gave mine as well. So that makes our NXT review. Do you have any concluding remarks before I take us home?
I do not.
Okay, then. Well, with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss on Fleetoff. Who was your favorite superstar on tonight's NXT? What was your favorite matchup? Who was your personal low shot? And we will see you again for Survivor Series preview and predictions this Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Followed up with Survivor Series 2014 live reactions this Sunday. Always my favorite time of the month to do this with Ashton, the preview and predictions and the live reactions. It's going to be so much fun, and we will be
You know why that's such a great time of the month, John?
Why is that?
Because the WWE does such a crap job of building up their pay-per-views that we don't care until we do preview and predictions, because we do a better job in that 45 minutes of building ourselves up to get excited for the pay-per-view than the WWE does in 4 weeks.
Wait for it. Fact! Love that you joined in. All right. I'd be honored if you guys would join us. It's going to be a really fun time. We will see you then. Peace out, guys.